Hello, it's Brittany Soptic, and I'm here to talk about my role reversal project. I went to Mount Sinai Mortuary and Memorial Park located in Hollywood Hills to interview or role reversal with an embalmer named Steve Allen. He used to work at the facility that I work at now, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to not only learn about a position above my level, but to go to a facility that I hadn't seen before, and to learn something new about a Jewish facility, since currently I work in a Catholic facility. What I wore to Mount Sinai was what I'm wearing now, a modest dress with a sweater. I wore tights and sensible shoes. The reason I wore this clothing is because your clothing speaks about you. So I'm meeting people that I've never met before. Also representing the mortuary, even though I'm not actually a part of the mortuary. So wearing a modest dress and a sweater is respectful because in the Orthodox Jewish tradition, women don't wear pants. So taking that in consideration, I wanted to be respectful of the culture I was stepping into and didn't want to wear a normal suit to go to Mount Sinai. The color was black. Black is the traditional funeral color associated with grieving. It's also maybe considered disrespectful to wear a color that is not black to a funeral. I wanted to wear sensible shoes because I'd already been walking for 4 hours previous to this assignment at my current job, and then was going to work another 4 to 8 hours helping out or what I could do at Mount Sinai. When I arrived to Mount Sinai, it was 1 p.m. on November 15th, 2018. An embalmer on the day shift came out to get me. She gave me an entire tour of this facility and introduced me to everyone. One of the neat things about the building is that it was built in the 1950s, and even the equipment that was in the building is the same equipment that was there in the 1950s. Everything was so amazing and immaculately clean that it was like you stepped back in time to the 1950s into what a preparation room would look like then. So it was very neat to see, since I'm fairly new to the industry and would have not been alive to see a 1950s funeral home. Another interesting thing about the facility is that on every shift there are 2 male embalmers and 2 female embalmers. This is because of the Jewish traditions. It allows females to work on females and males to work on males, just honoring the practices. When I got there, I spoke with Joe Henson, the mortuary manager. He wanted to get to know me a little bit before he gave me access to work in the preparation room under Steve Allen, because he had never met me before, and you don't want to just give random people permission and access to your facility. Not only did he tell me about the facility, but he told me a little bit about making funeral arrangements at a Jewish mortuary, which he does from time to time. He said that one of the most important things with his communication is the communication with the rabbis, because it is important to call the rabbis as soon as the death happens and when the arrangement happens, to make the plan together. Because if you don't make it together and the family just goes back and turns to the rabbi and says, "This is the time I want this," then it offends the rabbi and makes it hard for the mortuary and the church to have a relationship that is best for everybody. He also told me the differences between Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox arrangements. There are specific items that need to be purchased at the arrangements in order to have the type of religious practice the person is expecting. Joe told me that he was in charge of mortuary operations and the entire safety of the entire location. So when speaking to Joe, he not only gave me the arrangement sheet, but he gave me brochures, price list, and things like that to kind of give me a view of what it would be like. He also gave me the employee rules and regulations. Those were things that he needed to communicate to me since I was coming in like an employee even though I'm not an employee, because the standards that he has written, he needs to communicate to everyone that is in the facility. It is important that the facility stay on track because there is a church to report to. So anything that could negatively impact the church, it could risk the entire jobs of everyone at the mortuary. So when Steve Allen came into work, he works the mid shift, so it was like 6 p.m. when he came in. It was a little different than I expected it to be. I hoped to step into his shoes, and partially I was able to. But then there's a part that I couldn't because I am female and he was male. So that night there was only male decedents who came in. They had to bathe and prepare the decedents for the next day. I was not allowed in the room because I was female. So, in trying to learn from Steve and things like that, I had to be a little more passive than I would like to be because of their requirements. So not only does he do basic things to manage the shift, which has 3 other employees on it, he is in charge of updating the service sheets. They are in charge of answering phone calls in case any come in at night, to do removals, which is picking up the decedent at wherever they passed away. They're in charge of embalming if there ever are any embalmings, but in a Jewish facility there are very few. He covered all the new emails. They read them as a group. They were going over safety information, watching safety videos. Joe left them a list of things to do that they had to do on their shift for all the additional tasks that may not have gotten done on the other shifts that then are required to do on his shift. On his shift, they are responsible for doing deep cleaning. So the instruments and stuff like that, it is required for them to make sure everything is in tip-top shape for the shift that comes on in the next day. Steve had me scan his paperwork. All the paperwork gets uploaded in what's called a monthly dialogue that gives an online database of everything that has happened and everything that should happen. It's similar to a different computer program that I have seen at other facilities. They prepare service sheets and other things. So I stayed from 4 until 9 o'clock with Steve, literally taking on anything I could, or I waited right outside the preparation room and waited for a recap of his experience so that I could at least kind of live it vicariously. That day, no females came in, so I wasn't able to assist with anything. Afterwards, what I learned from the experiences is that it was amazing to step out of your comfort zone and to learn something new, to communicate with a entire different group of people that have similar interests but very different ways of practicing what you're doing. I was very thankful to have the opportunity to be interviewing Steve and or doing his duties. I was very thankful that Joe allowed me in and was able to stop and spend time with me and share as much as he could share with me. I think that communication plays a vital role in any sort of funeral services, but you can especially see it when the facility is different from what you're used to. So having the opportunity to see a different perspective will only make me better in funeral service. Thank you.